Hello, fellow scholars and purveyors of morbid curiosities alike. I'm Dr. Caleb, joined by the young man, Dr. Zach. And this is SCPod. Zach, how are you today?
Not sober?
Don't know what to do about village people.
Yeah,
huh?
you got me there. I was expecting a lot. I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, for the audience at home, Zach has no idea what I'm about to call him every episode until it happens, and I've only been vetoed once.
Yeah,
so,
and what a hard veto it was.
But, Zach, we have a hell of an episode in front of us. Why don't you tell the audience what we're doing?
Yeah, before
today?
that, if you want to guess which episode I had the veto on, put it in the comments. And today we do have a bit of a doozy. We are covering SCP-106, the old man, today, or at least half of him today, because this is a longer entry, so we are planning on doing the initial reading of the file, and then just maybe getting to random discussion. But this is such a foundational SCP that we want to make sure we didn't give the reading of it short shrift.
Yeah. We're trying to learn how to do these longer and more foundational SCPs. We've done some stuff in the past. We did the Flesh That Hates, and that was an hour-and-a-half long episode that has kept Zach and I up for numerous nights afterwards. We did Tyler, and let's be honest, everybody hated that episode. So we're just trying some things. So before we get going, though, I do want to say if you have not read the article for SCP-106 and you have the clearance level to do so, please go read it. There is a lot of stuff that we are going to be keeping out of here that does not tie directly to SCP-106, but is still associated with him.
I mean, if you can,
there's a lot of tales.
Yeah, if you don't have the security clearance but can outrun security, give it a shot. Tell us how it works out for you.
Yeah.
I'm not your mom.
I've seen our security here. They're not the best.
Great.
Minus the hat guy. The hat guy,
he's not security though. So I mean,
yeah.
My point stands.
He's just a walking nightmare.
Yep. Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
So, without further ado, I do not know anything about SCP-106, and so I am very excited to get into this, and, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so I'll just go ahead and take us into it. SCP-106, Object Class Keter. The most current special containment procedures are labeled Revision 11-8. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interaction must be approved by no less than 2/3 vote from the O5 command. Any such interaction must be undertaken in AR-2 maximum security sites after a general non-essential staff evacuation. All staff, research, security, Class D, etc., are to remain at least 60 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except in the event of breach events. SCP-106 is to be contained in a sealed container comprised of lead-lined steel. This container will be sealed within 40 layers of identical material, each layer separated by no less than 36 centimeters of empty space. Support struts between layers are to be randomly spaced. Container is to remain suspended no less than 60 centimeters from any surface by ELO-IID electromagnetic supports. Secondary containment area is to be comprised of 16 spherical cells, each lined and filled with various fluids and a random assembly of surfaces and supports. Secondary containment is to be fitted with light systems capable of flooding the entire assembly with no less than 80,000 lumens of light instantly with no direct human involvement. Both containment areas are to remain under 24-hour surveillance. Any corrosion observed on any containment cell surfaces, staff members, or other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing or killed in action. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. Note: continued research and observation have shown that when faced with high, complex, random assemblies of structures, SCP can be, quote, confused, showing a marked delay on entry and exit from said structure. SCP-106 has also shown an aversion to direct sunlight. This is not manifested in any form of physical damage, but a rapid exit into the, quote, pocket dimension generated on solid surfaces. These observations, along with those of lead aversion and liquid confusion, as mentioned in revisions 11-6 and 11-7, have reduced the general escape incidence by 43%. The primary cells have also been effective in recovery incidents requiring recall protocol redacted. Observation is ongoing.
Description: SCP-106 appears to be an elderly humanoid, with a general appearance of advanced decomposition. This appearance may vary, but the rotting quality is observed in all forms. SCP-106 is not exceptionally agile, and will remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for prey. SCP-106 is also capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. When attacking, SCP-106 will attempt to incapacitate prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups, or tendons, then pull disabled prey into its pocket dimension. SCP-106 appears to prefer human prey items in the 10 to 25 years of age bracket. Reminds me of somebody else I know. SCP-106 causes a corrosion effect in all solid matter it touches, engaging a physical breakdown in material several seconds after contact. This is observed as rusting, rotting, and cracking of materials, and the creation of a black mucus-like substance similar to the material coating SCP-106. This effect is particularly detrimental to living tissues, and is assumed to be a, quote, pre-digestion action. Corrosion continues for 6 hours after contact, after which the effect appears to, quote, burn out. SCP-106 is capable of passing through solid matter, leaving behind a large patch of its corrosive mucus. SCP-106 is able to vanish inside solid matter, entering what is assumed to be a form of pocket dimension. SCP-106 is then able to exit this dimension from any point connected to the initial entry point. Examples being entering the inner wall of a room and exiting the outer wall, entering a wall and exiting from the ceiling. It is unknown if this is the point of origin for SCP-106 or a simple lair created by SCP-106. Limited observation of this pocket dimension has shown it to be comprised mostly of halls and rooms, with some sort of entry. This activity can continue for days, with some subjected individuals being released for the express purpose of hunting, recapture, and nameless other things. And there is an addendum to this article. You're right, there is. SCP Review Notes. Due to the exceedingly difficult to contain nature of SCP-106, SCP is to be reviewed every 3 months or during a post-breach incident. Physical restraints are impossible, and direct physical damage appears to have no effect on SCP-106. Current SCP revolves around basic observation and immediate response. Previous, more proactive special containment procedures have been recalled due to the events of breaches further in the past.
Notes on behavior. SCP-106 appears to go through long periods of dormancy in which it will remain completely motionless for up to 3 months. The cause for this is unknown. However, it has shown that it appears to be used as a lulling tactic. SCP-106 will emerge from the state in a very agitated state and will attack, abduct staff, and cause gross damage to its containment cell and the site at large. Recall protocol blank. SCP-106 appears to hunt and attack based on desire, not hunger. SCP-106 will attack and collect multiple prey items during a hunting behavior event, keeping many of them quote-unquote alive in the pocket dimension for an extended period of time. 106 has no determinable limit and appears to collect a random number of prey items during an event. The inner dimension accessed by 106 appears to be accessible only by 106. Recording and transmission devices have been shown to still operate inside the dimension. Their recordings and transmissions are very degraded. It appears that SCP-106 will play with captured prey and appears to have full control of time, space, and perception inside the event.
Recall protocol, redacted serial number. In the event of a breach event by SCP-106, a human within the 10 to 25 years of age bracket will be prepped for recall, with the compromised containment cell being replaced and restored for use. When the cell is ready, the lure subject will be injured, preferably via the breakage of a long bone, such as the femur, or the severing of a major tendon, such as the Achilles tendon. Lure subject will then be placed in the prep cell, and the sound emitted by said subject will be transmitted over the site public access system. SCP-106 will typically begin to gravitate toward the lure subject within 10 to 15 minutes after hearing the subject. Should SCP-106 not respond to the initial broadcast, additional physical trauma is to be administered to the lure subject at 22-minute intervals until SCP-106 responds. Multiple lure subjects may be used in the case of major breach events. SCP-106 will typically enter a dormant state after finishing with a lure subject. In addition, subjects may data expunged. This just in. Apparently we've been cleared to cover the entirety of this article and the discussion in one episode.
Those bastards lied to me.
Yeah, somebody is feeling the wrath of Zach after this episode, and it's not going to be me this time.
It will, in fact, be Zach.
So, that was an article.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I think we've said this before in a couple of older articles we've talked about, where when you actually sit down and read the entity, there's not as much to them as you would have thought, based off like their impact on the overall state of research.
Yeah.
For good reason, because I mean, this is a very hard entity to cover or just study, because it just wants you all dead.
Right.
And it's just like, it's like when they try to study velociraptors in Jurassic Park. Like, it's really hard because they're just going to try and kill you immediately.
Unless you're Chris Pratt.
Unless you're Chris Pratt, who has like +5 plot armor.
And some sort of, I don't know, midichlorians or something to hold them in place with his hands.
Right, like former Navy dolphin trainer turned raptor, part-time Jedi. Because those movies have universally great writing.
They have a really great park builder game attached to it, though.
I love Jurassic Park Evolution so much. The first one, I don't like the second one very much because I feel like it forgets that it's trying to be a dinosaur tycoon game.
That's interesting. I'm the exact opposite.
I don't like the second one very much. I love the first one. No notes.
Yep. Speaking of old creatures,
you leave my mom out of this.
Oh. All right, so let's dumb this down a little bit. There was a lot of words spoken, and at least for the person in this pair that has the least amount of wrinkles in his brain, there's a lot going on. So as far as I'm aware, this guy can teleport.
Kind of.
Or I guess like manifest portals through different objects.
The best way I kind of like to think about it is like a combination of like Dishonored style Blink,
Okay.
as well as like just like the effect of a rust monster wherever you blink. If that makes sense, like in a D&D rust monster.
Oh yeah.
In that when he's also pulling, I don't know necessarily if it's super clear in the article, but I don't know necessarily if the when he's walking through or transporting himself through layers, if that is like the actual portal to the pocket dimension, or if that's a separate process.
Yeah. So he can phase through solid objects and enter and exit them kind of at will.
Mm-hmm.
He prefers to hunt humans, and he prefers to do it Jeffrey Epstein style.
Yep.
And he has a bag of holding that he has made his home.
I mean, that's one way to beat the real estate market, but I mean, what kind of life is that?
I mean, I'm not going to own a house or a bag of holding, so I guess he's doing better than me.
Honestly, owning a bag of holding would be more realistic than buying a house if you were born in the 90s. So yeah, what we have here is a pretty classic Pursuit-style Predator. Not entirely dissimilar to what we covered earlier to predatory street art.
Yeah.
And that there is there is alluring behavior that is exhibited. But I think overall whereas the predatory street art, or even the German bird thing, whose name is escaping me right now.
Time's up.
Yeah, it's like those are like, as far as we know, more just strictly those are hunting behaviors directly to sustenance. SCP-106 is seemingly hunting you because it's fun for them, which puts it more in line with something like a what's the sculptor's number? But it's
173.
Or like
professionals,
even the lizard.
by the way.
682. Sometimes. This thing just wants to hunt you because it hates life, or because it enjoys hunting. But I suppose like one's as good as the other. And that it has an environmental effect of just general corrosion and like maybe like a real-time filter for like a Silent Hill aesthetic. Like if you're crossing over to the other.
No, that's very true. Yeah.
Like it's just add water and stir for Silent Hill.
Yeah, seriously. It's like he enters and they can just like shoot the movie Wreck.
Yeah, and there's a couple of pictures in the file for 106 that really do have that Silent Hill aesthetic.
By the way, these photos are absolutely amazing.
The photos are great.
There's some of them like I just edited and uploaded the spider proletariat one, and it's just like that's a big ass web. Some of these like photos that they have for the SCPs are like, oh, that's interesting, but these are like breathtaking.
Mm-hmm. So, I know that you are, let's say, generously a very anxious boy, and have a hard time playing with horror games. Would you say that's generally true, Caleb?
Yes, I have a really... I was actually just talking to somebody today, one of the fellow researchers, and we were talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, actually, and how that was like the last horror game I played, if you can call it that, and I realized really quickly that jump scares and me just don't... They're like me and birds. They just shouldn't be in the same place.
Right. Did you ever play a game that had like a pursuit style enemy, like an enemy that would chase you throughout the game?
Am I misremembering? Isn't Resident Evil 3 the one with Nemesis?
Yes.
I did play that.
Gotcha. So, I mean, how many games have you played that have that mechanic, and how would you say you feel about that?
I genuinely think that it's pretty awful. What's the other one? Alien Isolation? Was that one as well? That one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are so cool in a concept. I love watching them, but I love watching the people freak out about it. And like even some of the really, really dumb looking ones like are just like there is something so ominous about like it doesn't even need to be sculpture level of like you blink or you turn and it like moves. Like even if it's just like slowly walking towards you or something like that. I know that he has an appearance in Containment Breach, right? 106 does.
Yes, he is one of the pursuer enemies, along with the sculptor, the plague doctor, and then there's one or two other ones. Like 106 is or not 106. Sorry, Containment Breach is a very dense game with pursuit enemies.
Yeah. So I would say that the most terrifying pursuit enemy is probably the boulder in Crash Bandicoot.
Okay, I mean, yeah, fair enough. So, of the two of us, I have a much deeper cachet of horror experience. Being a horror author as also just someone who enjoys the genre. I have super mixed feelings about pursuit enemies in that I feel like there are some that are done extremely well and then there are some that are just not. Earlier this year, I did a stream of the entirety of Spooky's Jump Scare Manor. And all of the monsters in that are pursuit enemies. All of them. And each one of them has their own gimmick. And it was interesting to see how many different ways a single game can iterate on that. With some of them being, some of the monsters being able to go through walls, some of them have being slow and sturdy, some of them that will only charge you if they're in a straight line. I've also done streams of the Resident Evil 2 remake, and that has Mr. X, and that is a very good pursuit enemy because it doesn't necessarily know exactly where you are,
mm-hmm.
and so it's always kind of looking for you. But the gist with that is that you can actually lose them. It's not it's a homing missile. It's the AI actually has to find you for it.
This is really interesting. I literally just had a nightmare last night about this exact concept.
Yeah, and it's a pretty well-worn thing. It's a tried and true trope in a lot of horror games because it works pretty well. And I feel like the trick to a good pursuit monster is that it isn't a homing missile on you at all times. There has to be ability to have some downtime or ability to catch a breather from it.
Yeah.
And so what I want to know is how does 106 find its prey specifically? Is it go when it's in its hunting episodes? Does it instinctually know or have an ability to find its nearest prey and beat it on them? Or because we know that Time's Up had a very specific hunting mechanic where it had almost a clairvoyant ability to find prey even if it was locked up.
Yeah.
How does 106 hunt?
That is interesting. They do talk about the recall protocol and stuff like that, and how they have to get an injured person to corral it. So it definitely has that beeline behavior, but does it have the like you said, that clairvoyance to just hop inside of his own bag of holding and then pop out right on top of the kid?
And that's kind of why I want to bring up that the way that they do that recall procedure, if you recall, is that they do the injury, then broadcast the sounds of the person who's injured over the loudspeaker for the site, right?
Right.
Does the knowledge of something being in pain, sort of like how sharks can smell blood in the water from a significant distance,
right?
Does the knowledge of something being in pain or wounded help 106 triangulate the wounded being, if just by knowing that it's that it specifically is injured.
You know, I kind of imagine that like he breaks out of his containment, right, and he's just like kind of walking around. He might go stop by the mess hall and like grab a cheeseburger. Never eat the hot dogs at the SCP Foundation, by the way.
No.
And you know, then you know he hears the crying of somebody that just had their femur broken, which, by the way, that is an extreme fucking injury.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Oh shit, my people need me." And then he's like, I assume portal gunning everywhere to try and find it. And you know, he is an intelligent creature, so he probably can at least somewhat comprehend the fact that they're luring him back to his containment. And so he probably has it. I think it'd be different if like they did it in different spots, and maybe they test that intelligence of like, oh, maybe he is just able to portal gun immediately to the person in distress, or if he has to like kind of hunt around. But in the case like this, like his quote unquote prey is going to be in a similar spot every single time.
Well, I mean, like, I don't think it's necessarily like the way that 106 moves around is that he can't go from necessarily. He doesn't teleport necessarily. He still has to go through a space. So, like, for the walls, like, he has to go through every single layer. Not necessarily in a conventional way, but there's still like an accounting of space, or at least barriers.
Okay.
Which is why, like, if you recall in the procedures, why they had to use all those layers of lead, steel, and liquids.
Right.
Because even if like he isn't going through those barriers, as if you were transversing them, as if they weren't there, he still has to like manually go through each like his corrosive portal through each one.
Okay. So it's not necessarily I'm a little confused here. I thought it was like portals, because they were talking about how he can walk into a wall and then come in from the ceiling.
Yeah, but I mean, like a wall's connected to a ceiling.
Okay. And
so
then is able
like
to exit this dimension from any point connected to the initial entry point. Okay. So he's pretty much like making a doorway into his pocket dimension, and then something that's attached to that wall that he made the pocket dimension on can spawn the exit tunnel.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I feel like there has to be some sort of physical connection between his entry point and exit point, but I don't think they need to be like on like exact opposite sides of the surface.
Right. Okay, this guy's a lot less OP than I was than I initially thought. I thought he could just like open up his bag of holding, hop in, and then be in Paris.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily would. It's that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to contain him.
Right.
Not without using something like a Scranton reality anchor or something like that.
Okay.
Because, yeah, and it's the documentation doesn't make it super clear about that, but I think that is a hard and fast rule. Otherwise, this thing would just be gone.
Right.
It wouldn't be Keter; it would just be uncontainable.
He's only contained because he wants to be contained, or because he lets us contain him.
Well, I mean, he is a Keter, so we don't know that's necessarily true or not.
That's true. I mean, we did have the other old man that we talked about, and he just was being contained just for, I don't know, a warm shower and hot food.
Yeah, and that's kind of another thing I wanted to ask about is, if assuming, let's pretend for a second that he could escape anytime he wants to, right?
Yeah.
Is he just here because it's easier for him to hunt staff and D-class during a breach event than it would be out in the wild? Like, he would have to exert less physical effort to do so?
I don't necessarily know about that, because if he is, if like you said, he truly hates humanity and stuff like that, like, he would have a much better success rate just portaling through in the wild and just like eradicating people. I think this, like, I think it's a little column A, little column B. Like, I don't know if there is, like, something that can hunt him, or maybe something that's dangerous to him, and so he likes being in a space that is safe for him as well. But, like, based off everything that it says, his containment isn't actually containment. It's just something that slows him down. Like, if he wants to get out, he's going to get out.
Right, and that's why like they have that recall procedure, because they basically lure him back in. It's not a containment because he can get through his procedures. It's just that we lure him back in every time, and then when we do the recall procedure, it lulls him back into a dormant state.
Exactly. And that dormant state's also kind of interesting because, you know, they do say that he does take multiple prey items at a time. So maybe there is something to be said about, like, he is okay being quote-unquote contained because he only needs, like, he goes on a breach event, he takes, like, 8 Tylers, takes them to his pocket dimension, and then he's good to do whatever kind of Diddy shit that he needs to do for, you know, 4 months or whatever.
Yeah, and there's kind of a given with the, you know, it is a long running Keter. There's so much we don't know because we're so focused on just trying to keep it contained that we haven't been, and we can't study it. This isn't a foot of the bed situation where there is things we could easily do to answer some questions. Whatever we do to study 106, whoever's studying it is probably going to die.
Right.
And so there is a weighing of benefits versus costs. We don't know of any way to actually kill or get rid of 106 if that was ever something we tried to do seriously. We can't even contain him, like, permanently. We do have, like, the only thing I could think of is that we do have a number of spatial altering SCPs that could be Thaumiel if we ever got around to it. That could probably just send him to wherever else, but that's not containment. That's just, you know, Superman style sending him to the mirror dimension.
Right.
Which, I don't know, I mean, make it someone else's problem.
Just World War Hulk him.
Right. So, I don't know, we have an unkillable monster that can't really be contained. We don't know necessarily what it wants, except that it thinks it's fun to kill us.
Yeah, it is interesting because, like, you know, with some of these Keters that are, like, incredibly difficult / impossible to contain, the old man is almost kind of tame. Where, like, okay, he's gonna have a breach event. He's probably gonna take 5, 6, maybe 8 of your men, women, and children, and then he's just going to sit in his cell and, I don't know, sing Red Hot Chili Peppers song to himself for the next 6 months. Like, compare that to the Lizard or any of the other Keters that, like, I mean, even Predatory Street Art or something like that. Like, they get out and they're as difficult, if not harder, to contain, and they will, that's like an extinction level event right there.
Right, and how many times during a breach, how many breach events have to occur before you just factor in the loss of life and staff into your annual budget for your department?
Oh, I'm sure. I am 4,000% sure that there is that the SCP Foundation looks at the loss of life like a normal business looks like at a business ledger.
Oh,
they're like, things are going badly. We're up 4% in fatalities this quarter.
Right, and it's hard to fault them for that, given the work that, you know, the Foundation does.
And we have infinite Tylers, and I think that is payback for that episode.
Yeah, we, like, if worst case scenario, we have an infinite number of, like, 9-year-olds we can feed to monsters.
Exactly. It's it's I don't know. This guy's cool. I'm also seeing, like, this season has been what? Predatory Street Art. We have the communist spiders, which, you know, that's not very dangerous. They're safe for a reason. But we had Time's Up, another just guy that wants to kill people. And then we had Cragglewood Park and the fucking human trees. Like, there's a lot of dudes that just want to eradicate the human race this season.
Yeah, and not all of them are Republicans.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's always interesting when we stumble across an accidental theme for a season.
Right.
Like, oh, I guess we were interested in monsters that day when we set up the schedule. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I think we said this as much during the sculpture episode way back when.
Different timeline, by the way.
Did we actually cover the sculpture?
I think it was people sitting in our seat, but I don't think I was even born yet, honestly.
Me neither. But like, it's something like an older SCP, like a sculpture, where it was so early in the Foundation's history that a lot of the ways we talk about SCPs hadn't been implemented yet. That when we're coming back and looking at it from a current perspective, there's just a lot of things we don't know about it that weren't the things we were looking for at the time when we contained it.
Right.
Or when we were writing the original documentation. And so that's why, like, it looms large because it was so early in the Foundation history, but there isn't actually as much there as you would think.
All right, let me pose this question to you, Zach.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the old man? Because it sounds like you're kind of, like, you're not as harsh on him as, say, like, Mr. Plague Scammer, but, like, it doesn't sound like you're as enthused as you have been about other SCPs this season.
And that's pretty accurate how I feel about it. Like, it's not boring to talk about. It's not an uninteresting entity. There's just so many of... We have two or three others, like, very similar SCPs we talked about this season.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is really interesting when you say it like that. Because, yeah, there are two other pursuer-type SCPs that we've covered this season.
And, like, granted, it is a terrifying thing to be hunted. But when you think about how many of them there are, there isn't that much unique about 106 that isn't done in a more interesting sense with other SCPs like Time's Up or Predatory Street Art. I think 106 is an important milestone in terms of lore for the SCP Foundation, but as time has gone on and we've discovered and cataloged more entities, I don't think he holds up super well. It's not a bad entity, he's just been outshined.
I can see that, yeah. I as somebody that came into this pretty cold, I think he's cool. I like the flavor that he has. Not the actual flavor, because I bet he tastes like ass. And not the good kind.
I think he'd melt your mouth.
Yeah. But
derogatory.
But I like the flavor that he has. I like the like movement capabilities that he has. It's something that is kind of interesting to me. I like that his containment is so interesting. But you're right. It is something that, like, we've already covered two guys like him already this season, and he seems to be
which we did not plan
right
at all.
Oh, I mean, we didn't even in the original schedule. We didn't even have Time's Up on there, so we definitely weren't planning on this as a thing. So.
And I feel like I would feel the same way even if we didn't talk about Time's Up as suddenly as we did, because we did have Predatory Street Art. But yeah, it's like I said, it's not a bad entry. It's just, it's on a long enough timeline, of course there was going to be more of this.
Right. And you know, he is kind of patient zero for it. I think that, like, where the Plague Doctor, like, I didn't really see the hype in. This guy, I understand why he's popular. I understand why I've seen people with the old man T-shirts on. And I think he's deserving of it. I think for being such a cornerstone of, like you said, the SCP lore and everything like that. Yeah, he's a cool dude. The photos again are just absolutely phenomenal.
Great. Yeah, great photos and art to go along with the article. I just kind of wish there was more to go to it, and I understand that there are tales.
I was going to ask you about the tales,
and they are interesting tales and do a lot to fill in flavor, but as the remit for this show, we don't really talk about tales that much, and I'm not really sure I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my position, and Caleb, I would be interested in hearing what you say about this, but I feel like a good entity or article should be able to stand on its own without supporting material.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends, right? Like, you can look at The Flesh That Hates, for example.
Yeah.
That is an SCP that, if you just read the article and none of the expedition logs, you get a decent picture of what The Flesh That Hates is, but it really is built upon by those things. But since they were logged in with the initial article, kind of like how these are, even though they're just hyperlinks on a page, they are I consider them as part of the article itself. It's not something that we're doing because it's not talking about the research that we've done on it. It's just more the background of it. But for example, the Plague Doctor. The Plague Doctor probably gets more interesting with tales, but that wasn't part of the original article, and thus it's yeah, there's background there, but you have to dig for it. Whereas The Flesh That Hates and the Old Man are both SCPs that have that background information baked into the article.
Yeah, I would be interested in knowing at what point those tales were added to the file.
That would be interesting.
Because I have a sneaking suspicion that they weren't current when the file was added and were added over time.
But
which is fine and good.
Here's an example. We just covered Cragglewood Park, and
Yep.
that had a very similar thing, but instead of linking to a tale, it linked to a different SCP. Do you think that Cragglewood Park is better because of that, or do you think that it should have just been its own article?
I'm going to call back to a observation I made during those episodes, because it was Cragglewood Park and then the other one. I don't remember the name of the other SCP that was tied into it. But the one with the people trees.
Yeah.
I believe I said something to the effect of, I want to know what the actual connection is that made a researcher can try and connect the two. Because at least ink on paper, I don't see what's the connection other than a description of a tree that has humanoid features. Which sounds like an insane statement until you remember what line of work this is.
Right.
And my position on that was that I don't think there was enough documentation to support that connection. Because there was, in one of the addendums for the second SCP for that, again, the people trees, whose name I forget, and I'm sure we have it written down somewhere, but I refuse to check. There was simply a one-line says that had a hyperlink back to Cragglewood Park, and that was the extent of the mention and connection.
Are you ready to be really upset by the name of that SCP?
That's fine. They can be mad.
Summer of 91.
Summer 91. Thank you. That's I stand by my statement. Die angry. I don't know at what point that connection was made, but whoever made it didn't put enough supporting evidence for that statement in that article.
Yeah.
And which is different fundamentally from what we see a later tale being added to an existing SCP like 106. So let's say that at least 2 or 3 of these tales for 106 were added post facto to 106 as time went on, and SCP-106 gets out as it wants to do, and then creates these tales as documentations for the people that it ends up killing. That's fundamentally different because it's more like a cataloging of the fact afterwards. I feel like those tales should be added as notes in the file.
Okay.
Not as standalone pieces, because if there were things that happened, they should be in the file.
Okay, I can understand. I don't necessarily have anything against the tales being in here, because as far as I'm aware, it is extra background information in an article that is specifically supposed to be a scientific article on how to secure, contain, and protect these SCPs, right? And
right.
So, I think that's where the expedition logs for The Flesh That Hates differs from something like this, where, as far as I'm aware, and I haven't read them, but I know enough about them, it is just background. And they're not helping us do any part of the SCP thing to the old man. And so they're kind of just like extra credit, if you will. And I think they're great.
Right.
I think that's great that you have the opportunity to do that. But like for the purpose of this podcast and for the purpose of us as researchers, we don't really care about that unless we're like specifically researching the tales.
Right. And I broadly support that. But what I am saying is that like if they are just extra nuggets of like extra credit work, then what the fuck is an addendum?
I think the addendums still are pieces of that scientific research. I think
but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying though, is that like if you have half the things we've read as addendums to files were included, then most of those tales should have been included in the first place.
Okay, I can see that.
Or at least if they happen after the fact. Most addendums, as the name will suggest, are added after the initial writing.
Right.
And that's just like me. That might be just me being overly nitpicky and splitting hairs as a career bureaucrat. But all I'm saying is that like there could be a higher standard of documentation for some of these. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, not all researchers share that same sentiment, and as much as Zach and I have campaigned for a revision on some of these, we just don't have the support yet. So you could support our cause by liking, rating, subscribing, all that good stuff.
Yeah, my campaign has mostly consisted of me making a sign that says "write shit down" and then hitting other doctors with it.
I've just been trying to shake everybody's hand.
I'm going for violence.
You know what? I could still carry the Flesh That Hates virus, so it could also be violence for me too. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if they did,
dearly want to dap up the old man, though.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that like if you do give someone 610, they deserved it.
Well, Zach, is there anything else you really want to touch on with the old man? Again, this is a foundational piece of SCP, but I think it's pretty self-contained.
It's, yeah, like, I don't know, there's really not much more to add. I could ramble on about a few other points, but I'll be harping on stuff I've already said.
Yeah. Funny that I just referred to it as self-contained when I guess he kind of self-contains himself.
He self-contains in the same way we all self-contain.
Yeah. He just needs a good therapist.
What is an apartment but a self-containment unit?
A jail for me and my cat.
Well, I mean, it's a jail for you. Mona's the warden.
That's very true. He's my terrible bunkmate.
Yeah, but I think I'm done with 106. Like, it's been fun to revisit, but, like, he holds up better than most classic SCPs, I will say that. But that's about it.
Yeah. I'm interested. I know we don't cover the big ones often, but it is interesting to go back and research some of these. Like, I wonder how the Shy Guy holds up.
We'll figure that out eventually, but I think he probably won't. I haven't read that file in years. I don't think he will hold up super well.
Yeah. Me neither.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the meantime, Zach, where can people find you at?
They can find me on my blog of www.makeawritingcheck.blogspot.com for twice a month content of whatever I'm working on. We are approaching the spooky season of October, which will be the release of my annual miniseries, which will be dropping that first or second week of October. Keep an eye out for there. I look forward to releasing those every year. And you can also find my book available for sale wherever you buy ebooks. It is Tales from Port Aster. Good times.
Yes, and please go support Zach's work. He works really hard, and it's just all good shit, you know. I don't plug it enough. Zach doesn't plug it enough, but if you really enjoy SCPs, there's a reason that Zach does horror and has run this podcast with me. So anyway, you can find me at Calica1738 on Twitter and Instagram, or you can find me at Calica on YouTube or Calica Plays on Twitch. I am plugging those once again because I have renewed interest in doing so, and streaming and doing YouTube and whatnot, and so it might not be as much of a ghost town. We'll see. No promises. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at SCPod_cast. You can follow us on Instagram at SCPod.cast. We're both available on Spotify and YouTube. And I say this every single episode, but and I already said it this episode already, but please remember to like, rate, follow, subscribe, comment, all those little things. They really do push us in the algorithm, and it's a really good way of showing your support to smaller creators like ourselves. We've seen substantial growth. I mean, Zach and I have been doing this for 2 years now, I think.
Oof.
Just gonna scroll over and see when our first date record. We recorded episode 1 on November 4th, so we're 3 months out, Zach. We've been doing this for 1 year and 9 months, and it's been an absolute blast. And it's just absolutely crazy to go log into like our Spotify and see the numbers for our newest episode or our YouTube and having people reach out to us, and it's been a blast. And I can't begin to thank our audience enough. So yeah, that's what we got. Zach, do we know what we're covering next week?
No.
All right. Well, as soon as I find out, I guess we'll press record and record another episode. But Zach, in the meantime, what is the name of the bedtime story you're going to be sending us off to?
The Assassination of the Fish Council by the coward Fishish, as told by the noble founder of the Fish Council, Fishish.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.